Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf and to the fourth review video of books off the long list, the Women's Prize of Fiction long list. Another batch of three, and this time the common theme is war. It's a bit of a stretch for the last book, but that would have been a stretch anyway. So war is the theme that binds these three, and it's a very mixed batch, I have to say. Let's start with Wandering Souls by Cécile Pain. Cécile Pain is, let me just check her background that I'm not saying anything. Yes, Paris-born. Yes, I knew France, but she was born in Paris, but is a UK author. And this is her debut novel, autobiographical in the sense that a lot of it is based on Cécile Pain's family history, not her own history, but the history of her mother, uncles, grandmother, that history, because it's historical fiction as well. It is set after or towards the end of the Vietnam War. It starts, it's not set, that's not true, because it goes all the way up to the almost present day. But it starts after the fall of Saigon, and a group of Vietnamese people trying to make it to safety by boat. The family it's a bigger family, but they're split. They send the oldest daughter on with the two younger brothers first, and then father, mother, and the youngest child and sisters will come later, and they will meet in the refugee camp. That's what and then they want to go to America because the father has a brother who lives there. So that is the premise of the book. And then, of course, things don't go according to plan, and we follow, I'm not going to give spoilers, but we follow the story of Anne and her two brothers who make it in the end through a lot of peril and first refugee camp, and they stay there for quite a while. And after 2 years, for various reasons, they end up not in the US, but in the UK, in London. And then you follow them, how they make or don't make their way there. It's mostly focusing on the perspective or told from the point of view of Anne, the oldest sister. I mean, she is like 14 or 15 when the book opens, so she's not an adult, she's still a child, but she's the oldest, and because they end up, the three of them, without older relatives, she has to take care of her brothers. That's her role, and how she deals with that, and what happened with the uncle in the United States. So that will all be explained. You have also the wandering soul of a dead relative who makes an appearance. I'm not going to tell you who, because that would be a major spoiler, who comments on what happens to him and his family. He is a wandering soul because, according to their religious belief, he can also only find rest when he is buried in home soil. And until that time, he has to wander. With an A, wander with an A. He's also wondering, by the way, wondering what is happening. It's a good, solid, nicely told story of refugees, but it didn't blow me away by any means. I mean, it's a story you have heard before, you have read before. Nothing wrong with that. We all repeat stories that all writers repeat stories that have been told before. but it was just very predictable in a way what happens to the various members and the roles of the various members of the family. I think that book might have worked better as a straightforward memoir of the mother, because she is the central figure. The older sister. But it's okay. It's okay. So, like I said multiple times in the previous video, this book will end up somewhere in the middle range. It's good. I'm not sorry that I read it. And if you are interested in Vietnamese history, refugees after the war coming to the UK, not the US, which is the more common theme, I would certainly say pick it up. But it's just not that great or fantastic. But then again, it's a debut novel, so who knows what Cécile Pin will come up with if she continues writing, which I really hope. The next book, I didn't like at all. Get that off my chest right away. And that is another debut novel, Louise Kennedy, Trespasses. It's been praised by everybody and their mother. And I was fortunate enough to read it with Kim from Middle of the Book March, who didn't like it either. In fact, she DNF'd it. And I would have but I had already DNF'd 2 of the list, as you know. And I thought, no, I'm sticking with it. It's easy to read in the sense that it's a pretty fast read, and I read it on ebook, and for some reason I can read ebooks faster than printed books, so I finished it. But I don't understand any of the praise that this book is showered with. I'm really sorry. Back up. Slow. Breathe. It's set in the Troubles. So it's historical fiction, Northern Ireland, and it's set in 1975. And one of the main characters is a young woman, 25 years old. She's a primary school teacher. Her name's Cushla, Cushla, which is an Irish name, I learned. And she is also working or helping out in her brother's bar. Her older brother runs a bar. He's married with children, and he helps out because the mom should work in the bar is suffering from alcoholism. The dad is dead. So it's already that I thought, oh no, stereotypical, the alcohol and everything, but okay. And then Cushla, who is a Catholic, she falls for an older man, middle-aged, 50s, married, and they start an affair, and he's Protestant. So that, I was expecting tension because of the Protestant-Catholic relationship and how they deal with that, and maybe have to keep that secret or what have you. But it was just a very seedy, stupid affair. The guy was a jerk. He had multiple affairs before. He did. I don't know why she fell for him at all. And the Troubles was kind of the Wikipedia background of the book. It was mentioned what happened in the news, and then this was blown up, and such and such died. Another, so it was like 2 books that as if the author had thought, well, I have this relationship. It's not very interesting. What am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to put it in the Troubles. That should be interesting. No, it wasn't. The brother was also your typical older brother kind of jerk. So that all the characters were like, yeah. And then the author obviously had the same feeling I had. It was not interesting with this central relationship with the Troubles. And then she just decided to do something majorly about the plot about 200 pages in, 2/3 in. And then we get some fallout of this event. And then the book ends. It was just not very good. I'm really sorry for all the people who love it. That's fantastic for you, and I'm happy for you that you loved it, but for me, it was just not a very good book. It was a debut, so I'm lenient, and this writer can certainly develop into something spectacular, I'm sure, but I don't think this book deserved to be on the long list at all. It was just nothing that, I mean, even the books that I previously discussed where I said, well, it's not fantastic or it's, but still I can see why a book like The Children of Paradise is on the long list. Or, even Wandering Souls, which is not a fantastic book, but the theme and it's interesting enough. But this one, I mean, it's just some stupid, uninteresting love story that gets then derailed by the author because she didn't know how to make it interesting in any other way. I'm sorry. No, didn't work. But again, happy for all the people who loved the book. It's always good if you love a book. And the last one could have also been in the category weird that I discussed last Wednesday, I think, and that is Lalene Paul's Pod. Lalene Paul is a UK writer. Both her parents are first-generation Indian immigrants, but she doesn't write about the immigrant experience other than that in her book. The theme of the outsider, the one that doesn't fit in, is always a big theme. Her first book, The Bees, told from the perspective of one worker bee, Flora. She is an outsider because she has abilities that she shouldn't have as a worker. Her more thriller, Ice, the same thing. And certainly here in Pod, which is about dolphins and fish, so it's set in the ocean. Most of the main characters are outsiders one way or the other. So it's set in the ocean, like I said, and we follow various groups of dolphins, two in particular, one part, and the main character there is Ia, a young female dolphin, and you also have another bigger part, the Tersiops, and there you have the leader, Lord Ku, and his first wife, Devi, and other main characters. Then we have a dolphin who was raised by humans and trained by the military, and his nickname is Google. That is the nickname given to him by his human handlers. We have a big whale, rorqual. We have other fish also, and clams, and they live. We follow mainly Ia's journey from her part, and she is an outsider because she can't hear the ocean's melody. Which she's a spinner dolphin, and they spin because they hear the ocean's melody, and she can't hear that, so she can't spin. And she goes on a journey. It's quite violent and dark. There is rape multiple times, but also violence towards animals, among animals, and from other sides towards animals. Animals are killed by ship because they are murdered by the ships. It is an ecological book in a way because we encounter all the shit that we did to the ocean from the perspective of ocean animals. So all the pollution, noise-wise, the constant noise because of the shipping, all the ships that travel through the ocean, but also the waste pollution, the plastic. There's this huge floating island of plastic which actually exists. And there is also chemical pollution, which has consequences, how some animals, some of the fish react to those to the chemical pollution. But it's mainly a really good, engaging, moving story about, in particular, one dolphin and how she has to overcome quite a lot of hardship and violence in her life in order to make her way back home. That's the short of it. And I really appreciate if a book has this kind of very weird setting. I mean, it's from the perspective of fish and dolphins and whales. But in the end, like the bees, it's just a really very good story. And then you can add, as a reader, your interpretation, whether this is an analogy or an allegory of human life, or whether it's really meant to be an accusatory book about our polluting of the ocean, or whether it's a futuristic thing of how you can heal. So there are various interpretations possible, and it's completely up to the reader. You can also just read it as a very interesting, engaging, moving story, the main characters of which happen to be dolphins and fish. So if you like the bees, this will certainly appeal to you. If you don't like animals as a main character, not as stand-ins for humans, like in Glory, where she was talking about, real Mugabe's regime, but she put those people, gave them or made them into animal characters. That's not what this is here. It is really from the perspective of the animals. So if you like that, if you like the bees, then I think you will definitely love Pod. It is violent. It is dark. It will probably make you cry. But I loved it. It's certainly in the top 3 of the long list for me. Anyway, these 3 more, one okay, one no, and one really good one. So this is a mixed batch. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I'm looking forward to your comments, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.